Ugh.
All right, so we're gonna move on. We're gonna backtrack, guys, into the relationships that correlate in Hellsing. So the first relationship we're gonna talk about is Sir Integra and Alucard. Now, granted, Alucard is already the pre-established guard dog of Hellsing, but the extent of his loyalty is undetermined. We don't see him interact with Arthur Hellsing in the Dawn. So his loyalty to Integra is more than likely his own free will, wanting to protect her and respect her, because when he first meets her, she's being attacked by her uncle, who thinks that she shouldn't be the head of the Hellsing household, and attempts to kill her. And so she runs down to the dungeon, finds Alucard. Alucard beats up her uncle. She delivers the final blow, and he offers her a chance at immortality. And she declines, saying that she does not want that kind of power. She basically chooses to be human. And that decision alone gained all the respect that Alucard could offer to another person.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot more I can say on the matter. Yeah, because even I'm reading all this stuff here, and it brings just over the years, Alucard and Walter help her grow and mature into a leader and a master that she becomes. As such, Integra's the only person whom Alucard will obey, and like there's just a whole. I also think he just likes the fact that she didn't take the power stuff. I think he likes the fact that she's just human.
There's a lot to say about the relationship, because on the surface, yes, it's my master. Yes, my master, this, and that. But you can tell that there's a camaraderie of familyship. Even you can even see sparks of romantic interest between them.
Oh yeah, but that's just a given. Even with the dynamic at hand, it just plays into that. That's something completely normal. Yeah, he's just got super loyalty to her, to the family, to the everything. Like even before her. So it's just the Hellsing organization as a whole, and right now she's just the one in charge.
Like there's a difference in being have to respect someone. Like, so for me, when I work for people at my jobs, like, yeah, I have to listen to you, blah, blah, blah. But for you to have me actually want to respect you, like I genuinely want to do this, is a whole different story.
Well, yeah, there's a whole respectful situation in general. I mean, that's a given. Like, for example, even right now at the place that I work at, it's a given of if it wasn't for the bosses that we have and who they are, there's no telling that we would have the same kind of, basically, I don't think we'd have the same kind of people we do, like for them. Like for me, like I don't think I'd be doing all this overtime and this and that and whatever just because. Like it's most likely for them rather than just some random person in charge, regardless of whatever. So it's more like we respect these guys, they understand us, we understand them, and there's like a loyalty, a respect, a whole like levels of other things. But if you replace them, even though they're leaving anyway, there's no telling that we're going to be the same way to like someone else, even though they're in charge.
I kind of want to shed more light on like their complexity of the relationship, because in the final scene where Alucard is basically becoming a paradox of his own self, and Integra sees that on the major screen, that's not you don't normally cry for help like that for just any servant or anybody. Alucard meant a lot of things to her in so many ways. Like she was practically the father figure that she didn't have after her father died, him and Walter. Like you said, anything you want to add to that?
No, not really. I mean, I honestly think that, like, you probably have a lot more to say than I do on the matter of like these relationships. I mean, I could add my input for sure, but I think you have definitely a lot more to say about these complex relationships.
Okay, what about the scene where she just finished giving Alucard the orders to search and destroy? And she hangs up the phone and she looks at Walter like, Walter, he's not about to do what I think he's about to do. And Walter's like, you really underestimate how much of a monster he really is. Like your friendship with him blinds you to the fact like he is a cold-blooded killer.
Oh yeah. I mean, but the fact that she even knew that, like, to think that he would just be that way anyway. I mean, I thought it was strange that she would think otherwise, knowing that he just really loves doing what he likes to do. He just wants to get permission. I also feel like sometimes he he words the getting permission thing very intricately to her every time he asks. So that way she has to either respond in a very certain way, because if she says it in a different way or different tone or whatever, then it's gonna let him do other things. I think it really just, she has to be careful how she says it.
I feel like off camera there had to have been some sort of, not necessarily sexual, but very intimate moments between them.
Oh, quite certain there had to have been, especially after, like, when you get to the final moments of when he's finally back after 30 years. Just even that small conversation implies that there had to have been some kind of intimacy somewhere along the line.
I honestly didn't catch on to that until the episode when they're in the Queen's castle and they're having that meeting with the Iscariot, and he comes back from Brazil, and the first thing he says is, "Hello, my countess," and she says, "Hello, my count." And that look that they gave each other is like, they see each other as not just as like masters, but they're also each other's equals.
Oh yeah, he points that out. Yeah, he even points that out here. He sees, calling her this long, weird Japanese name. I can't, whatever, but meaning that he accepts her as her equal in power. So like that's already applied. Like after 30 years that he spent with killing and absorbed all those souls and all this other stuff, and despite that Integra has no powers like he does, he still sees her as his equal in power. So, and
that again just speaks volume to Integra's character. So what about Alucard's relationship with Sarah's Victoria? I know that he outright says that the reason why he turned her from human to vampire is because she was put in a situation that most humans would want to die from. So in the first episode, we see her in a church as a policewoman, and she watches her entire squad get killed by this priest, and then she gets captured. Unfortunately, she's about to get sexually assaulted until Alucard shows up, and he asks her, "Hey, do you want to live or do you want to die?" And in that moment, a lot of people would say, "Let me die," but she chose life, kind of just emphasizing how strong-willed she was. So he was like, "Okay, bet." So he kills her, brings her back to life. And so that's why he tells Walter in episode 3, 4, whatever, that she chose strength to survive, not for the lust of power like I did, basically.
Well, yeah. I mean, I thought it was an interesting choice because it took her a whole minute just to even decide. Her corpse just laying there, and he walks over after he's done with those other guys and pretty much says, "So, you don't got much time left. You better make a choice. You want to live or just die?" So, and then she obviously makes the choice, and then he sees it a bit more than just a choice, because obviously, like you already mentioned, it's not for the power, it's just to live, and all this other interesting stuff. But, I mean, just a vampire doing his deeds, saving someone's life. I mean, obviously, she would live from it. She becomes immortal from it. She becomes obviously all the things that vampires become. So obviously it's very apparent of how weak and young she is as a new vampire with all the combat stuff that goes on later on in the stuff, especially her first encounter with Anderson. As for her relationship to him, I mean, it's there. I just don't feel as though it's as, I don't feel like there's, I don't feel the teacher to student thing as much as I think there should have been. I feel like there was just way too much going on in the show for Alucard to really kind of show her how to be more. Like, I feel like there could have been more conversations. I feel like there could have been just a lot more in general between him and her, how vampires are, and then her pressing her own opinions. I mean, she does her own opinions and she says her own opinions different to his throughout the show, but I feel like there could have just been more dialogue, more stuff, more things. And I feel like if they actually do continue this series, they could probably tackle that more now that Hellsing's going to be too old. But unless they do, I feel like they missed an opportunity to do more between these two. But
I don't think it's necessarily, it is a teacher-student relationship, and people could fight me on this, but I really feel like it's more of a father-daughter relationship because he berates her in a more playful manner. when he versus how we see him fight like actual people. He's more like in a you fucking idiot. But another thing I want to mention about her turning, about like why he turned her, he says why, but to me, I think deep down he was really just seeking a companion because it's been 500 years. His best friend is an old ass butler who's going to die within like 20 years. Integra, and he knows that her life is finite, like she's going to die eventually. So I think he just wants that camaraderie or a sense of humanity that's left in him, because he's not 100% cold-hearted. He's like 90% cold. He's still able to cry tears of blood. He's still able to, do certain good things. And this just was his first showcasing of that in this series.
Yeah. I mean, even with the father-daughter thing, it even says right here when questioned about they're having a father-daughter kind of relationship. I still feel that even if it was a father-daughter relationship, I feel like there could have been more between them. Because I just feel like, he did a thing and it's touched on here and there. And there's a few times that they talk about their differences, about how he views things, she views things. But I feel like they're just more distant than anything, and they're too busy with other objectives at hand, and I think there just could have been more. But again, the focus was not on them as much as the overall plot was happening. But
that's fair. I feel like there could have been more dialogue between them. But at the same time, it's like, what else is there to say? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I trained you on how to use your third eye. I give you your assignments. Call me back when you drink blood.
I mean, I just feel like they could have explored her being more different than him and her reasonings and all this like stuff that we mentioned before. I feel like we could have explored that a lot more so if they had gone the route of more dialogues between them and different interactions with characters and this and that and whatever. Because I think the biggest moment of this whole thing is just when they go to that hotel and she points out that like, oh, but there's still this and there's still that. And she's like, I don't care. I just want to get permission to do this and that and whatever. And I feel like besides that, there's not a whole lot that gets said between them or their interactions together. Granted, there's only 10 episodes and there's a lot to cover as far as, there's bad guys on the loose. And you got Anderson interfering here and there, and there's just so much going on that there's not enough time for these two to do more. But I feel like if they created a sequel for these two, that they could definitely cover more.
100%. I like that in a hotel. That's the kind of like the first time we see Alucard feel guilty or feel bad about what he's done. Like, I'm not sorry, but my bad, I guess.
I mean, I think it's hard for him to feel bad considering everything he's done. But
I mean, since we're on the topic of Sarah's Victoria, let's talk about her relationship with the wild geese, specifically the captain.
Okay. I mean, I don't like... So, I don't know. I'm 50-50 on it. Because it wasn't till... I didn't like them at first. I didn't like them, like, as the new group and whatever at first. Like, they're just new people, new fodder, new whatever. It wasn't till they got more, I guess, in-depth and stuff and whatever with the fights with the Nazis coming and all this other stuff. And it wasn't until then that I started to like the captain and his crew more. Then he kind of grew on me, and it's like, oh yeah, I like this guy. And then they're all being weird, and they're doing this like he likes her type of thing, and then he's trying to get that kiss from her, and then she doesn't give it up until like way later. But after he's blind, I don't know. I don't mind their relationship as like what it becomes, and that she actually likes him, and that's why she kind of takes him in as her first blood victim. But other than that, I only really liked the banter thing between the whole perversion thing between him and her. Otherwise, I'm not a fan of their love relationship thing.
I mean, that's fair. I felt that was kind of just like thrown in for the sake of him being her familiar. But other than that, it serves no purpose to me.
Yeah, I said, and I wasn't even pleased with the whole idea of, he becomes a familiar thing and helps her out and whatever. Yeah, it's cool that he's not gone, but at the same time, to me, it's just a form of cheating. And she learned to use it like very quickly. It wasn't something that over time kind of thing. But
what do you mean by cheating?
So this whole powers thing, like I said, I'm not a fan of. Oh, like, I don't know how well she would have done if she wasn't able to summon him as a familiar or this or that or whatever. It feels like once she got the blood and she did the thing with him, like, he helped her out a lot more when he was inside her head than all this other stuff. And I feel like, oh, that's just a kind of form of cheating. You're not doing it by yourself kind of thing. He's helping you out. He's the one calling the shots. He's the one helping you figure out how to do this thing. That's my opinion about it. I don't know, because the woman got her arm cut off and she pretty much became blind. The lady got her in the eyes with that thing. And then it wasn't until she drank the blood that it even mattered. And then the whole like, oh, he's not gone. He's my familiar thing. And he's helping her out with the rest of the fight and the combat and doing all this cool shit.
Well, I mean, the reason why he's calling all the shots is he's an entire ass mercenary.
No, I get that. But like I said, I just feel like she cheated. It's all him. But
I mean, well, hell, her daddy was busy fighting a butler.
But I do honestly think that the fight between her and that lady was really cool regardless. No,
that Zeppelin lady was fucked up. Because how the fuck are you going to have pity on her? Like, hey, man, I just saw what was in your head. I am doing you a kindness. Like, you know how fucked up your life has to be to hear that shit?
Like, and okay, since we're already talking about these two and it shows up in that particular episode anyway, let's go ahead and talk about it. Let's go ahead and bring up the fact of the whole bringing up her past when she goes to her brain, makes her reminder of all these things, and then watching her mom die with the robbers that show up and him raping the body after killing it. That I still do not believe that I got to have to witness that. I was not prepared. Because I go several episodes with, okay, I'm okay with the gore, the blood, the this and that, all that happening, not thinking anything sexual is going to happen, because like even in the first episode, okay, it was kind of there, but they don't really go much further with it other than what the small stuff that he gets away with before Alucard does what he does to him. But then 6-7 episodes later, you're showing me even more stuff. Like, oh no, I didn't think we'd go this far. Holy crap, wow. Was not expect complete, blowed my mind.
No, it really tripped me up when he said he just finished killing her dad, just shot the mom, and he's like, it's still warm, ain't it? I said, what?
Yeah, that got me too. The fact that, oh, it's still warm, it's still good. That's my chance to keep going. What the fuck? I mean,
I want to know which editor approved of this scene. I want to know personally.
I have no that. And then the episode after that, you get to see, I'm pretty sure it's young Alucard being dragged by his hair into another room and being raped. You don't get to see a full-on thing of it, but you definitely get to see the big body behind him moving on him and the action being performed for at least a second or two. And I'm just like, does this not stop? Like, is this like a thing now moving forward? Everyone's just kind of been, I don't know, just the fact that happened and the mom and the warm body thing. This show, like, I thought we were safe for a little while. Nope, this show shows no bounds. I don't even know how they got away with that. So,
yeah, I kind of like, I got to give people like a major warning about this show before they watch it.
Like, did this go straight to like streaming or straight to DVD? Because there's no way that those two episodes got away with TV.
I mean, since it's an OVA, it might have went straight to streaming. I'm not 100% sure though.
And that's if streaming was a huge thing in 2006. But yeah, those two scenes, highly, if you're listening to this now and you've made it this far into the show and you're hearing these gross things, that's a huge disclaimer before walking into it. It doesn't happen until later, but it happens. You're gonna see things.
It's terrible. Like, that's actually the worst part about the show.
So, but other than that, I mean, the show's worth it for only being 10 episodes. So, I mean, we've covered our favorite stuff. Oh, now that we've talked about these characters and stuff, so we can finally reveal. We'll go with you first. Who is your favorite character out of all of these people that we've talked about?
It's Alucard. Like, no, hands down. It's Alucard just has that ferocity and sadisticness about his character that I absolutely just feed upon. The way he just laughs at his enemies is just so great. I just love it.
I mean, I could have said Alucard also. I just felt like, to me, it's cheating because he's like the main dude, and you kind of, I've said this at the beginning of this episode already, but you kind of can't beat this guy. He's got it made. Like, this dude, his powers, his this, his that, his master, his everything. Just, there's nothing about this guy not to like, including his outfit. But that aside, my favorite person, I want to claim it to be Walter, but if it wasn't for the fact that when he goes betrayal and turns into the young Walter, I kind of lose interest. So Anderson is probably the way I'd have to go. Father Anderson is just the greatest person here. His loyalty to his group, to his ways, and even though I'm not a religious person, I highly respect everything that he stands for. And just all his encounters with Alucard made things more interesting. And I'm a big sucker for, I don't know, like, just his weapon choices are different. It's interesting. Pretty much any of his speeches, the stuff he talks about, I am completely 100% behind Anderson. So,
I mean, other than the absolute ruthlessness of Alucard, I like the fact that he's 10 toes down. Like, he's completely upfront. I am a monster. I'm not one of your little fucking friends. I'm not here to play nice. I'm not here to play daddy to you, Saris. I am here for war and death.
Well, yeah. I mean, and you could say that Anderson's almost the same way. He's not here to be friends. He's not here to do this. He's not here to do that. He's here to protect the people. And he's also to fight for humanity, to fight off all this evil, and to do all this stuff in the name of God, as he so says. But
I really respect Anderson because I know I've already said this, but he's one of those characters who has a unwavering devotion to God that I can actually respect and understand. There are other characters in anime, like in Akame ga Kill, where they take that shit to a whole other level. I'd shit you not, when that character died, I was jumping with glee when she finally got put down.
I mean, in a small way, he reminds me of, I want to say he reminds me of Justin from Soul Eater. Granted, I never read the books, so I can't say anything, but the fact that he wears a cross and has this devotion thing to his people, even though he's just listening to music and doesn't say a lot, but it reminds me of that kind of stuff. But Father Anderson just has a lot more to say.
You have to respect him. You just have to not like him, but you will respect him.
Oh, yes. So what's next?
Let's talk about the besties of the show, Sir Integra and Saris Victoria.
The only thing I like about that relationship at all is, I guess, Sierra's loyalty to Integra as much as Alucard's. Otherwise, I don't know. Integra doesn't really try to get too much of her opinion, doesn't try to do it doesn't feel like there's a lot going on between them. It just feels like there's a giant mutual respect between them. And it feels like, yeah, like they understand each other because they both have like this human like sensibility rather than how Alucard's different. Otherwise, I don't think there's a whole lot there for me to go over.
I think that since this is the only time, Alucard has shown interest in a human other than Integra herself and Walter, to turning her, that she has this unwavering trust towards Saris already. Because, a fledgling vampire doesn't know how to control the impulses, yet this woman comes up and says, you need to fucking eat. Pricks her finger and says, lick for my finger. Like, do you know how south that shit could have gone? She could have went berserk and just ate Integra by accident.
Oh, yeah. I mean, could have. But, I mean, just the way that I also feel like Sierra has more control than Alucard does, aside from Will. But
other scenes where we see that Integra has like this unwavering trust for Ceres is during the crusade. Integra trusts that Ceres will defeat the werewolf and come back to her alive and help her defeat the Major. Like that's the only level of trust that we see her put into Alucard.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking on that werewolf guy, I thought it was really interesting that they wait till that moment to bring him out and do something with him. That fight between those two, and I also feel like it was a kind of a missed opportunity with that character. Granted, he's just a silent dude, but that dude is very, very strong. And they don't really go over a lot of that. They kind of just have the fight, and then it's kind of just done with him.
Well, he let her win. Like, there's no way around it. He fucking let her win.
No kidding. Like, even the fact when he just let Integra go past him and be like, yeah, go that way. Like...
For her to walk up to that werewolf and be like, good boy, now die like a dog. Damn.
Oh, that's funny. But I feel like at that point you could say that there was, in a weird way, I feel like, oh, maybe he secretly works for her. I mean, I don't know. It was just kind of weird that he just lets it happen.
Now, by this point, 50 years with the Major, I feel like he's just tired of living. Please, someone put me down. Please.
Oh, and that's another thing. Like I said, the whole fact that she wouldn't have been able to win if it wasn't for the captain being in her head, because of the fact that he points out all the flaws and stuff that's going on with this dude's attacks. So, I mean, she doesn't figure that out. He helps her figure that out. That's cheating. The dude's dead. But I mean, so...
You know, it really took like the gravity, like really put the gravity of the situation in perspective for me. It was when it's Ceres versus the werewolf, and he takes her to the room with all the treasures and stuff, and it's all stuff that they pirated off of dead Jews.
Yep.
And it hit me because I was like, oh my gosh, that's not an anime thing. Like, no, they really did that shit.
Yeah. Yep, they did that. They've had a long time to stash all that stuff away like that. But
and then, like, I like how, you know, another way to show, like, kind of like Ceres is quote unquote Integra's best friend is like in the epilogue, we see that she's living together. She's still protecting Integra, but you see that they've gone more from master and slave, like Alucard and Integra were, to more kind of like a friendship thing.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's not... I'm just not a fan of Sierra's. It's just how it is. Like I said, their friendship thing, I think it's just because they have more in common together than the Alucard thing. The Alucard it's a different... he thinks different, he sees different, he treats them different. But Integra's thing with Sierra's completely is... It's more mutual, it's more understanding, it's more... She has a job to do. She understands that, and she becomes more of a friend to her the entire time. Even after this whole thing's over, it's still like a calm kind of friendship thing. And she asks her, well, what's going to happen, like, you know, after you die? And she's just straight up tells her, it's like, look, when I'm gone, this whole thing's over. There's not going to be a thing anymore. This is going to happen, and so on. So, which I don't think it has to be that way. But
are there any more speeches? Any more relationships you want to talk about?
No, because Maxwell's dumb. Maxwell's an idiot. And even though he had that small speech of when he was a kid and told Anderson, I'm going to get revenge on all the people who wronged me, which was a great narrative. And then all of a sudden he turns just into a dick and Anderson lets him die. So, they kind of like made a thing and then just killed it off. So I feel like there could have been more with that. But no, I also feel like the religious people could have had a bigger impact in the fight, because they did a really nice build up with, oh, they got all these people of loyalty and this and that and whatever. And they got the big army, and they got like all these people from this side and this side and this side and this side from these different religions to back him up and do all this cool stuff. And then it just didn't work out the way that it probably could have been better. But
I would have to fact check this, but when I first watched it, I really thought he pulled up with the Ku Klux Klan. I was like, y'all got that here?
Well, I mean, it is a cult of its own kind. But no, it's just that outfit choice is definitely... I would have thought the same thing if it wasn't for the fact that I knew better. That's one way to look at it. And that almost could have been a fitting thing, especially since they brought Nazis into this, which I thought was an interesting choice all by itself.
So it's not the Ku Klux Klan, is it the Cabaret?
Fuck. Let me see if I can pull them up here. Yeah, the Knights of the Order of Elavatra, the Knights of the Military Order of this other thing, and then the Knights of the Order of the Malta, and then the Knights of the Sagelery Brethren represent the Knights of the Order of the Sword of the Corlin. So there's 4 different Knights of Order that make up this thing of the Ninth Crusade.
They were all punctured within 3 minutes of Alucard's arrival.
So, I mean, I thought they were cool, but yeah, no, they didn't last long.
I don't even think they got to swing a sword or nothing. They just showed up and died.
Well, yeah, I mean, because, Alucard wasted no time. He's like, I'm done, and then does this whole blood thing, and that's that. Oh, wow, they even bring it up, the thing that you were just talking about. So, there's some trivia here. Yeah, the Capret is also worn as a lesser-known brotherhood, such as whatever this thing is, particularly priests. However, it is better known as the attire of the American Ku Klux Klan. This is ironic, as the Ku Klux Klan holds a great animosity towards the Catholic Church. That is in the trivia.
So what's your favorite episode?
So my favorite episode, that's a really hard one, because there's a bunch of good ones, and narrowing it down just to one, that's hard. I don't know the episode number. You probably do. But Anderson and Alucard's first fight, that's probably going to be it.
Episode 1.
Is it 1?
I know, because 1 felt long as hell, but that was the first episode.
Oh, okay. Then, yeah. When they first meet and they do that fight thing. And, yeah, that's my favorite episode. Just the fact that when they meet, they do this whole thing. And then he cuts off his head. And he's like, oh, I've won. And then when Integra shows up and says, so what'd you do to Alucard? Oh, I cut off his head. And then she just says, that's all you've done? Like, nothing really happened. So, even I was shocked a little bit. I thought maybe that was the only way to stop him. But no, he's too strong for that. I'm like, it can't be. We still got like fucking 8 episodes to go. There's no way this is over already. But it definitely showed the power of both of those two and how weak Sierras was to the whole situation.
So I guess my favorite episode, we already talked about my favorite episode, which was episode 3. But my second favorite was episode 5, and we haven't talked about that one at all. So episode 5 is when the Millennium takes over this aircraft carrier. And so Hellsing and the government are trying to figure out how to take down Millennium. And so they send in Alucard. Alucard shows up, bodies every vampire on there. And this vampire named Von Wrinkle, much like the folktale, actually knows Alucard from the Dawn. She met him 30 years ago. And so she knows who he is. She's shivering her timber. She's gripping her gun. She's trying to make her last stand. He's like, great shot. My turn. And he proceeds to eat her. Now, what I liked about this episode was she has the longest death in the series because the Major, who normally, self-destructs his subordinates, just said, you know what? You deserve an honorable death. So please enjoy this grueling moment as Alucard is slowly devouring her. And then in that time period, the Major's making this whole speech about his love for war for the sake of war itself.
I thought it was, to me, it kind of just happened. Until you mentioned it, I didn't realize that she had the longest death in the thing happening. But
no, because the entire time he's talking in the background, you can still see he is eating this bitch.
Yeah, like I said, until you mentioned it.
I ain't gonna lie, Alucard got a sexy ass tongue. That's just out of nowhere. Okay. So episode 1 and 5. The other thing I want to talk about before we move on to another topic thing. I was very happy that this anime does not have intros. The way that they do the intros is they do this whole whatever happens, and then they bring up the title thing, kind of like it's a part of the episode kind of thing.
Very, very creative. And there's no song interruption. There's no this, no having to sit 2 minutes waiting. And then I do like the music that they used pretty much during all the fight scenes that go on. I think the music was very, very implemented very well.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even remember hearing music. All I could see is the color red.
Oh no! Like anytime a battle was happening or all this other stuff, like they put like epic music in there and did all this stuff, and the music was only implied as necessary. They never used it out of context.
See, that was something I didn't notice.
Yeah, no, it's something I noticed just because there's no intro, so like they took all that away and just used the music for the show. So, but so the next thing, you said you wanted to talk about favorite speech.
So my favorite speech is split between two moments. It's the beginning and the end of Alucard versus Anderson fight. Alucard and Anderson are going toe to toe, back and forth, blah blah blah. Anderson gets badly injured, and so he relies on a divine power to save him. So he pulls out the nail of Helena, which is said to be one of the nails that was put into Jesus Christ when he died on the cross. Yeah. And so the speech is that Alucard is begging him to stop, because whether you are a monster of the divine or the demonic, you are still a monster. You will be no better than me myself. And so I am begging you, please don't lose your humanity for the sake of being a tool. I was completely, I was with Alucard in the whole thing. I didn't want him to turn into the thing at all. But I don't know. I liked it because it's like you see him just, I want to die by the hands of a human, and you are the only one who's like worthy enough to kill me. So if you do that, you're forfeiting my right to die. Don't take this from me. And then after the fight, after he obviously defeats Anderson, he breaks down and cries tears of blood. And he's saying, don't you understand that this is how I became what I am? And we see Integra looking at them, flashing back to when her father's on her deathbed, explaining that Alucard, the no-life king, is really just a child begging for death. That's why he goes into these wars, because he wants to die. He has nothing else. Yeah, it was also pretty apparent Alucard just wants to die. But doesn't Integra make that same? She points that out to somebody. She's like, "There's only two people in this whole thing. There's the people that they want to die, and then there's the other kind of people." Can't remember what she said. It was something along those lines. And Alucard doesn't want to live forever either. It was even asked by Anderson how long you got left. And then he points out, well, I just got to do this one thing first, and then, it's over. So I just finished watching the scene before we started. Anderson, you're right. Anderson does ask him, how much more time do you have? And so what he says is, until the weight of my past is broken, kind of like by my future. And then he's able to die. But given the fact that you're Vlad the Impaler, I don't think you're going to die anytime soon, my guy. Yeah, okay, that's it. My favorite speech, and I don't know all the words for words, unless it has it written here, is when when Father Anderson and his disciples show up to fight off all the Nazis in town, protecting Integra and stuff like that. He does this whole disciples of disciples speech and goes on his whole rant about what they stand for and all this other stuff, and his loyalty and what they fight for and all that kind of stuff. That's probably my favorite speech of the whole thing. So why exactly was it your favorite? Did it have like an emotional attachment like the speech had for me, or? I think for me, it just speaks the volumes of Anderson's character. Here it is. It says, "Speak up, you men of God. Tell us all who are we, the soldiers of the sky." That just keeps going on. But I feel like he does a great job here of just going on about who they are as like a group and what they stand for and why they're doing what they're doing. It just, to me, speaks a bunch of volumes for Anderson and his group. What I like about that speech is, I was kind of ready to root for them. Like, if I was in that scene and I heard him saying that, you're like, yeah. And then I'll see a vampire. You know what? This ain't for me. I actually put him out 2 weeks ago, and I'm gonna head out. But yeah, they even call themselves, "We are the Holy Fork of Assassins," and all this other stuff.
I was totally to rally behind these people. I mean, it just made me like them even more than I already did. But yeah, I think it's a super good speech. And like I said, there's a bunch of good speeches in this whole show. I don't think it's just hard to pick one. Even the major speech about war and all this stuff and why he's doing what he's doing, and any of Alucard's speeches. I can't. Again, there's not just one. I think this one speaks out the most, mostly because Anderson's my favorite character.
Again, like with that speech, again, it's not saying I'm holier than thou type of thing. Like, no, we understand that we are doing the exact same thing as Hellsing, but we're doing it under the name of the Lord.
Yeah. I mean, I even like how he says that we're this, but we're not this, and we're that, but we're not that. So it's like saying, yeah, we're this cool thing, but we're also not this cool thing. We're just doing this thing because we believe in this, that, and whatever, and that they're going to rain justice upon all these people.
It brings a realism into perspective. Since we're here, let's talk about why does the Major hate Alucard so much? A guy he has never been in the same room with.
I don't think it's the Alucard thing. He did because he sees Alucard as he knows, because his thing is with Hellsing in general, like the organization. So, and that's where his revenge stems from. And he just knows that Alucard is their weapon. And then he knows that in order to stop them, that he had to beat Alucard. And he obviously figured out a way to do it. He's like, I can't beat him physically. I can't do this, this, or this. I have to poison him. That's the best way to get in him. That's the best way to stop him. The fact that he was even capable of coming up with that, because even I didn't think of that. So otherwise, I'm not sure that there's an actual thing between him and Alucard. It's just he knows that he exists because he's been around that long, and he's just against the organization as a whole that he's a part of.
You're not wrong. He does have beef with Hellsing as a whole. But at one point during the crusade, he mentions his deep hatred for Alucard, and it's because of his jealousy of him. Because they're both put into situations at different times. Both characters were put on the brink of death on the battlefield, and Alucard chose to give up his humanity for the sake of power. But the Major's pride, on the other hand, he chose not to do that. He chose to stand by his side of humanity, and for that, he's seen as this monster, because he is. He's seen as this monster, while Alucard, the demonic monster, is given praise for him.
Yeah, but I feel, because you already hit the nail on the head thing. I think it literally just stems from the jealousy factor. The fact that he could be a monster and yet he's praised for being this or that or good or whatever, and the Major is a monster as well, but isn't looked at the same and has to do all this stuff just to become, I guess, looked at as important as all this other stuff. Because aside from a jealousy standpoint, I don't think he honestly cares too much.
To him, he sees himself as the direct opposition of Alucard. But in your opinion, do you think that that's true? Or do you think Father Anderson is the opposition of Alucard? Because, like, I don't care how much rah the Major does. Like, his actions are complete contradictory what he says. If anything, you're no better. You're exactly the same as Alucard.
Yeah, just a couple steps further because of his experiments and other things. But then again, it takes a monster to beat a monster. So
no, what's crazy is how like it was hard for me to wrap my head around it. Like, you really got beef with someone that you have never been in the same room with. This man has never laid his eyes on you.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was weird. Because like I just figured he was just trying to be a part of the war because he likes the war, aside from that, and trying to win. He knows that Alucard's a thing because of the Hellsing organization, but I don't, if there's any kind of mention or beef between the two that he has like a one-on-one kind of thing with, I never really saw it, just because I thought it was pointless. Maybe an obstacle in his way because he knows that Alucard's the weapon of the Hellsings, but beyond that, yeah, no. Being jealous is one thing, I get it, but there's lots of people he could have been jealous of in these last 50 years as he put this together.
I mean, that's true. He could have been jealous of a lot of people, but Alucard himself is on a whole different level.
So, I mean, yeah, aside from jealousy, I can't think of any other way, because as you already put it, this everything he says about it, it's contradictory to the whole thing of what he would say against it. But other than being jealous that it's this and whatever, that's the only way I see it. And I see Anderson more as the thing than him. So
honestly, same. So next we have the versus battle. Which battle are you gonna pick?
You're talking about like what's our favorite fight? Because there's a lot of fights we already talked about. So
I could bring up one. The Zeppelin versus the Wild Geese.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a big one. To me, that's a really good fight. Mind over power kind of thing. The whole, I mean, to me, she seems very different than the rest of these characters. Like, I don't even know where that magic comes from. I don't know what she is. I don't know where she stems from. I don't even know if she's just an experiment. But the fact that she's got like that third eye thing and she does all these cool things and whatever, I'm just like, what? Who is this lady? What? Like, how do you stop this? Aside from just not believing what you're seeing. She really fucked with those guys.
No, because that was so fucked up. So what she did was she put the Wild Geese, the mercenary group, under an illusion, making them think that like they were dying. And then Sarah saved them only for 5 minutes later for them to actually die.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't lose your limbs. Quit thinking you lost your limbs. It's all a trick. And then they lose them anyway. But, and then the fact that he lost a lot of men doing that stuff where they barricaded themselves inside that area and then they're shooting those rockets in there and just getting blasted their way through. He even told that guy, "Oh, don't go over there. Don't go standing on that thing. You'll get shot." And then what's he do? He gets fucking shot. Oh my God.
I mean, I like that it showcased like the real life camaraderie men have in times of war because, the captain was really trying to hold his men together and telling them, "Hey, man, we're going to die tonight, but we're going to die like badasses." So I feel like he said something like, "Zip up your pussy lips and let's get the fuck on."
Also, I think I could be wrong. But is he Australian? Is that what they were going for?
I feel like he is, yeah.
Because I'm like, he wasn't like the rest of them. I also have to commend these voice people. They really narrowed down that whole thug-like personality person when they brought in the Valentine people. I'm like, wow, that's just really how they are and how they talk and they do. Like, I just can't believe they brought that in. But that was a thing.
And then the part where the Zeppelin's team actually makes it into the castle and then they're just mocking them by playing a game of guessing the blood type. That was fucked up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the whole fight's pretty messed up. Because it wasn't even until Sarah comes to her senses to even beat the Zeppelin lady. So, and that lady can wield that scythe better than most people I've seen wield one. So.
What? You're not gonna give Maka credit? Really?
No, don't even get me started with Maka. Maka's got some growing up to do. Got a lot of stuff. Nope. I am not a Maka fan. Not at all.
We only got two things left, which is the Battle of London and the actual ending, the epilogue.
Well, I guess let's talk about London then. Even though I feel like we've talked in circles around it.
So we did talk about it a lot, but I just want to illustrate to y'all how big this shit was. Hellsing had 3 players, 1,000 cabarets, like 500 Protestants, and then guess what? A sea of ghouls from Alucard just comes out of nowhere. He down to the horses.
Yeah, I mean, as the major puts it best, and he goes, there are 3 armies here. You have the X amount of whatever religious people here, and then you have Anderson, or not Anderson. You have the Nazi army on the ground, as well as Walter and the rest of them in the blimp, and then you have the Hellsing group that consists of 3 people. And that's it.
And then the damage that the Germans did, because they didn't leave a single soul alive. There is actually a scene where the vampire has no more than a 2-month-old baby in their mouth. And the crusade didn't just stop in London. It was actually spread across the world all the way to the United States, but the damage was mostly done in London in the aftermath.
Actually, Maxwell brings that up, which I thought, well, not Maxwell himself, but one of his people brings that up. And I thought it was pretty funny that they bring it up. He's like, so It's like, so have the Americans like responded or any of this other stuff? And they're like, no, not yet. Oh, good. We don't need them anyway. As long as they just like stay out of the way, he doesn't care.
I just love the consistent shade that animes throw at Americans. I love it because we deserve it. We absolutely deserve it.
I mean, as much as we deserve it, I just think it's funny that like they don't want to have any of the help involved, even though Maxwell's going to get his ass handed to him. But I mean, as far as the London fight goes, it's just the big battle. It takes place across 3.5 episodes long, unless you want to count when they showed up in London when the Nazis first started the thing, but that's even earlier. But if you want to talk about just the battle itself,
nah, I just wanted to show, like, illustrate the entire gravity of the situation. This is a literal hell right now.
I don't even know how London recovers from that after all those people involved and what happened. So, like, I'm even surprised at all that there's much of anything left.
I just want to know who moved back to London. Like, who actively said, "Oh, let's go to London"? Are you sure?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they did have a 30-year gap afterwards. So
the Titanic sank 100 years ago, but do you see my black ass trying to get on a cruise ship? No.
I mean, so after London, you want to talk about the ending? Are we talking about after Alucard comes back?
So I say we talk about the ending and kind of like our predictions of like what the future projects may or may not be, or what we hope to be.
So considering it's a 2006 thing, and I want there to be more. I haven't heard that there's going to be more. We're talking almost 20 years later and nothing's been done. So I can't say that there's going to be more, and I never heard rumors of more. The ending itself is pretty fitting considering the Hellsing herself pretty much says after she's gone, there won't be any more of the Hellsing organization left. They'll just be somebody handling their affairs. And then, so after that, if they continue anything, it'd be like what I said. It would have to be Saris and Alucard relationship kind of going forward because Hellsing doesn't have a kid, so it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, so, after the war and everything, we see Integra is a more mature woman, and she states that she's not gonna have a kid. So why do you think she chose to end the Hellsing bloodline?
I think because I think she knows that the Hellsing group, organization, or even the bloodline as a whole is just gonna cause more. Well, they already have enemies, and it's gonna cause their enemies to come back. I mean, just look at what happened. 50 years in the making, 50 years of planning. Who's to say that whoever got away and has vengeance against these Hellsing organization doesn't wait another 50 years to 100 years just to do it all over again? I don't think she wants that kind of stuff to come back. So if it's over, there's nothing for anyone to come after. Because she says that the Hellsing organization will be gone, but their affairs that they have and stuff will be dealt with through somebody else.
So I get that it's not going to be like a hereditary leadership anymore. It's going to end up being like a government-run organization, like an officially government-run. So I'm just like, did she do that so Alucard could be free? Like, what happens to him if there's no more Hellsings around?
Well, so that's the weird part. The real question is what happens to Sierras after all this, because Alucard himself points out that his time will be coming, and it would be after he fulfills a certain thing that is going on with him mentally, and once he comes to pass with that, his time will be up, and that'll just leave her without Hellsing or without Alucard. So the question is, where does she go from there? Because they're both going to be gone.
He said, "You both about to be unemployed."
So, I mean, I don't know if that just means because with the mercenary group gone that she fell in love with, they're gone. Hellsing's going to be gone. Alucard is eventually going to be gone. I really doubt that she joins up with Section 13. And, I mean, she's more human than the rest of them, so it's not like she can't live a normal life, I guess.
There are two routes that he could take. If once Integra dies, Integra gives Alucard permission to eat her, she becomes his familiar, and he, goes about his merry way. Or he still eats her, but he'll stick with the Hellsing and help like the newfound government organization. And I think Saris will just follow him.
Maybe. Just depends, because like I said, he plans on not sticking around either. Because once he does whatever that thing he has to do mentally in order to pass, then his life on Earth will be gone. So
my other question was, why do you like? I understand she does not want kids, but it doesn't mean she can't still have sex. So I don't know. Me personally, I kind of speculated she kept her blood 100% virgin for Alucard. Like, I guess that's how much her romantic interest runs for him.
I mean, it's highly possible. I'm surprised she just doesn't have a kid with him. Because you can't tell me those two in general haven't had any form of intercourse whatsoever.
Nope. She said 100% pure virgin blood. So I'm assuming there was nothing.
I don't know. It's so hard to think that those two didn't do anything. Not even on a foreplay level. Like, it's really hard to think that they didn't at some point.
I mean, hey, Integra could simply just be asexual.
It is highly likely that's the case, but at the same time, for me, I'm like, nah, they just have secrets and nobody's gonna fucking know.
Out of all of his masters, I think she's going to be the only Hellsing to be his familiar when she dies.
So, I mean, just... oh, God, there's also that, too. There's also the idea that after Alucard takes Integra, Sierras could just take Alucard's life if he just lets it happen.
That defeats the purpose of him wanting to die with a human.
Yeah, but it's just another way to go.
I think he'll just wait for the next crusade to find his new nemesis to try to kill him.
I mean, that's highly possible. And no, there's not many nemesis left besides Section 13 trying to regroup from their losses, and the Nazi people, unless that scientist dude got away to carry on trying to perfect his experiments. There's not really a lot much left to go forward.
Oh no, Walter stopped him. He was like, "Oh man, where you going? It's just getting fun," and let him die with him.
Yeah, so then the Nazi people are done with. At least from that standpoint.
All right, I am completely out of shit to talk about. You ready to close this bitch out?
Oh, we can certainly close this bitch out. So yeah, Hellsing is a super fun anime. Make sure you're watching the ultimate version, not the other version, just for your benefit. Also keep in mind that if you go forward to try and watch it, it is highly disturbing in some scenes. Also, it'll blow your mind, and just know that there's a lot of disturbing scenes for episodes 7, 8, and 9. So that's all I have to say about that one.
All right, guys. So that is the end of our show. We thank you so much for listening to us. Me personally, Hellsing is one of my favorite animes to watch around Halloween time, so I highly recommend it in the month of October. My personal rating of the show is definitely a 10 out of 10, but hey, don't take my word for it. Watch it for yourselves. So with that being said, we thank you so much for sticking with us for this special episode, and we can't wait to see you next time.
Yeah, and as for me, I give it probably a 9 out of 10. I won't give it 10 out of 10. It's just because very nitpicky things I could say. But that aside, thanks for watching, everybody.